The two sport nutrition things we're going to be covering in this episode are how to manage nutrition when training on a hangover, and also how you should approach your sport nutrition when you've got a hard morning tempo session and you want to get the most out of that, but then not feel like you've just been unplugged mid-morning or early afternoon. If you get to the end of this video, I'm also going to be sharing with you one of my non-food top tips that I give to all my clients to really help them get the most out of their training and actually allow them to train smarter and not harder. So I am back on the bike this morning, which is not where I want to be. It's a midweek session. It's one of the more intense ones. It was meant to be 8 lots of 800 with 400 meter cool down recovery in between. I'm going to try and simulate that as best I can by just finding a program on the watt bike and giving it my best. Not messing around with this session. The key for this one is intensity. So I'm not going to be watching something on Netflix while I do this. I'm going to put some loud music on and just absolutely go for it. What's going to help me get that right stimulus is going to be my fueling. So last night I made sure I had a meal with ample carbohydrate in it to top up my muscle glycogen store, and then this morning, so about 45 minutes, an hour ago, I had a decent sized bowl of cereal and a banana. Now cereal's a fantastic way for athletes just to get something in that's fairly light. Don't necessarily see it as a particularly high nutrient density, high quality carbohydrate, but seeing it just as a raw fueling carb. So I'm having that as my pre-fuel so that I'm fully topped up and I've got some circulating carbohydrate to get me through this one. Gonna absolutely go for it so I can get the right stimulus, and then I'm going to show you afterwards what I'm going to be eating. The key thing though, when you're going for super hard sessions, is to get the refuel right, especially if you're doing it in the morning. So the reason I've had a bit beforehand is just so that I'm not going to be dipping into my petrol tank quite as much. If you've got a busy active day, making sure you're having something before is going to be quite helpful. And then where most people go wrong, then don't have enough afterwards. So what I'm going to be doing is making sure I'm hitting at least 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight carbohydrate. Everyone thinks afterwards we've got to get protein in, but to really help with your energy levels, we're going to get a lot more carbs in. Why is that going to be helpful? I'm going to top up my tank so I'm feeling good for the rest of the day. Let's get into this one. So a habit I'd recommend you get into after the session, immediately after, maybe you're doing a few stretches and you're cooling down, or even if you've done the bulk of it and you're now just spinning the wheels and enjoying calming down a bit. The habit I want you to get into is actually critically reviewing your session. So the likelihood is that you probably have some sort of data, watch, some sort of numbers, instead of just looking at it and think, oh, that was my max heart rate. I actually want you to be critical and see where you could improve or what you can learn from the session. So put your sports scientist cap on and pretend to be a coach. So what I've learned from my data here in that session is that I did 2 blocks of those 4 sets, and in the second and third block I sort of lost mental clarity a little bit. My brain started to wander. I started thinking about what I was going to say in this video, I started thinking about what I was going to do later, and suddenly my heart rate drops, my numbers drop, and it's not necessarily because I don't have the energy there, it's just simply lost concentration. That happened in both of those sets. Now I really tuned in and focused hard on the 8th set, and what I found was that I was able to hold the numbers. So actually the energy is there, my nutrition was right, I just need to be more present in all of those sets. So next time I do a session like this, I'm going to make sure I'm aware in each of those sessions and make sure, right, I'm tuning in, take out all the distractions and just be in it. That will allow me to get the absolute most from the session. That's how I'll be able to adapt faster with the more minimal training approach. Let's head downstairs and go and get some breakfast. Key things for my refuel: trying to hit a big intake of carbohydrate. I'm looking for at least 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight in that hour after. Now I've had something quite indulgent, so I've gone for my Bounty soaked oats recipe, but we've done it hot, so keeping it fairly liquidy, so that again makes it easy to get down. What I'm going to add, topping it off with a little bit of chocolate, and a key to this, if you get 1 square but just really chop it really thinly, scatter it on top, it's going to melt in, it'll make it really nice. And again, if it's a little bit more indulgent, it's going to make it easier to eat. At a time after a really hard session, you're probably not that inclined to want to eat, so making it as tasty as you can is going to make it more likely that you can get it down. I've also got a few little bits of coconut, just sprinkling those in to really give the Bounty feel. Now that is quite a big bowl, but it probably isn't quite giving me the 80, 90, maybe even 100 grams of carbohydrate that I need. So I'm also going to have a small glass of orange juice to get me that extra 20 grams. This is going to be about 80, This will give me about 20 or 150 milliliters. So that's going to be everything I need. Because this is a liquid carb, it's going to make it easier to get down. It's going to be a perfect refuel, getting me through to lunchtime, where I can then have some more slow releasing carbs. So faster releasing carbs in this meal, slower releasing at lunch, because that one is then fueling for the next session, whereas this is refueling. Now, the only time I could do my long weekend run was going to be this Sunday, and I had planned in to see my friends and have a poker evening down in Bournemouth. I still really wanted to execute my session, so I actually took my bike down there because my calf was not allowing me to run, and I planned to just get up and do it. I still wanted to drink and be social and enjoy the poker. I implemented a few nutrition strategies which I'm going to recommend you do as well if you want to still be social and train. And the first thing I considered was hydration going in, so making sure I've been drinking ample fluids on the drive down just to make sure I'm not going in dehydrated. Then we had a big barbecue, so I made sure I ate lots of mixed macronutrient foods. So there was carbohydrate coming in form of the buns, there was high fat foods with the meat elements, but also a fair amount of protein. Fortunately, I was able to have some salad elements so that there's fiber too. So I've had a nice big mixed macronutrient meal that's also been quite salty. The key thing there is that the extra sodium, if I can combine that with a few waters in between the alcohol I'm consuming, is going to help increase my fluid balance, because dehydration is going to be one of the main factors that's going to make you feel not great during that following morning's training session. So trying to put in factors that are going to allow you to maintain fair hydration is going to be key. Hydration status before, we've got the large meal before, and then also while drinking, also having a few waters in between. So I was nipping off to the kitchen to have the odd glass of water in between drinks. Now that's not going to mean I don't feel the effects of the alcohol and I'm still able to have a good time. It does mean that I'm getting a lot more liquid coming into my system, so that I'm therefore not going to be quite as dehydrated. Pairing that with a few salty crisps is going to be, again, bringing in that little bit of extra sodium. So I had that during the poker game. Before bed, I also had a large glass of water, which I actually added a little bit of salt to. Now, again, that's just putting in more fluid so that I'm not waking up in the night with desert mouth feeling, oh God, I'm super dehydrated here. All those strategies worked. I woke up just with my circadian clock at my normal morning time and was able to get on my bike and get straight out. The stimulus of that session was meant to be 2 hours, so it was meant to be 10 miles at race pace with 3 miles before and after. With the calf, I just planned to go out and smash 2 hours hard on my road bike. Wasn't quite able to hit the same sort of heart rate, but I did fuel it aggressively as well. I had 80 grams of carbohydrate coming in from liquids, and then I took a few blondies as well that my wife had made. Felt really good on the bike despite having a fair amount of alcohol before. I think because of those strategies around hydration, I would encourage you to do the same next time that you're going out for a few pints. Now, I've got a sport massage booked this week, so I'm really hoping that's going to help fix the issues with my calf and I can get back running, because this coming Sunday is going to be 2 lots of 6 miles at marathon pace. So I'm hoping to be able to strap up my shoes and get out there and plan my nutrition before and after and start practicing my race nutrition strategy. I'll see you then.